When you think of the word traitor in American history, there's really only one name that comes to mind, right? Benedict Arnold. His story is so wild, it's almost unbelievable. So today, let's get into it and figure out how one of the revolution's greatest heroes became its most hated villain.
And look, to get a sense of just how big a deal this betrayal was at the time, you just have to listen to what people were saying. Benjamin Franklin, he did not hold back. He compared Arnold to Judas. Not just any traitor, but the traitor, basically saying he didn't just betray one person, he betrayed the entire country.
And this wasn't just some hot take that faded away, oh no. For centuries, the name Benedict Arnold has meant one thing: betrayal. This cartoon, from nearly 100 years after the fact, shows him exactly where people thought he belonged, having a drink with the devil himself. Yeah, his reputation was pretty much set in stone.
So that's the big question, isn't it? This wasn't just some random soldier. This was one of the best generals the Americans had. How on earth does a guy like that, a celebrated American hero, end up becoming the ultimate symbol of a traitor? Well, that's the story we're going to piece together.
To really get the story, you have to understand just how high he flew before he fell. Because before the name Arnold was a curse, he was, and this is no exaggeration, one of the most brilliant and fearless commanders in the entire Continental Army. I mean, just look at this guy's track record. In 1775, he helps capture Fort Ticonderoga and its cannons, which were absolutely crucial for kicking the British out of Boston. The next year, he literally builds a small navy out of nothing on Lake Champlain and holds off the British, buying the Americans a whole extra year. And then, at Saratoga in 77, he ignores his orders, leads this insane charge, and completely shatters the British lines. That victory was so huge, it's what convinced France to join the war on America's side. The man was a legitimate hero.
And he wasn't sitting back in a tent somewhere either. This guy was in the thick of it. He physically bled for the cause. He got his leg shattered in Quebec. He got shot in that same leg again at Saratoga. He put his own body on the line for American independence, which just makes what he did later even more mind-boggling.
But here's where things start to go wrong. For all the glory on the battlefield, Arnold was getting, well, he was getting seriously resentful. He felt like his sacrifice and his successes were being completely overlooked by the very people he was fighting for. And this is where the cracks really start to appear.
And you got to understand, this wasn't just one thing. It was like a death by 1,000 cuts. Congress kept promoting other officers, guys with way less experience, right over his head. His political enemies accused him of corruption and forced him into a court-martial. He had to watch another general, Horatio Gates, take all the credit for Saratoga, the battle he had won. And to top it all off, he was going broke, paying for the war out of his own pocket.
And buried under all that bitterness was a mountain of debt. We're talking 16,000 pounds, which today is like over 2.7 million pounds. He was in deep. This wasn't just about his pride anymore. It was about pure financial desperation. And that's a heck of a motivator.
So you've got this perfect storm, right? A bruised ego, a ton of resentment, and a desperate need for cash. And that's when Benedict Arnold makes the choice that will define him forever. He decides he's going to sell out the American Revolution by handing over its most critical fortress, West Point. And the person who really opens the door to this whole conspiracy? His new wife, Peggy Shippen. She was young, she was well-connected, and, importantly, her family had ties to the British Loyalists. She became the crucial link. You see, Peggy was good friends with a very important person, British Major John Andre, the charming head of British intelligence. Through her, a secret line of communication opened up between Arnold and Andre. They started passing messages back and forth, using code and invisible ink to plan out this massive act of treason. And this right here, wow, this just says it all. The contrast is unbelievable. On the left, you've got a signature on the Oath of Allegiance to the United States from 1778. On the right, just over a year later, is one of his coded letters to the British, plotting to bring that very same country to its knees. The turnaround is just breathtaking. So, what was the price tag for betraying a nation? 20,000 pounds. That's worth more than 3.3 million pounds today. For a man drowning in debt and bitterness, this wasn't just a payout, it was everything he felt he deserved. It was an offer he wasn't going to refuse.
But the whole incredible plot came crashing down because of pure dumb luck. 3 American militias just happened to stop Major Andre on his way back to the British lines. They searched him, and they found the plans for West Point hidden inside his boot. Boom, the jig was up. Arnold found out just in the nick of time and managed to escape to a British ship.
So,
Arnold gets away with his life. He makes it to the British side. But now he has to live with what he's done. He got his rank in the British Army, but what about that massive payday he was promised?
Let's do the math here. He was promised a king's ransom, 20,000 pounds, if West Point was captured. But since the plot failed, the British only paid him a fraction of that, just over 6,000. He sold his honor, his country, and his name. And in the end, he didn't even get the price he bargained for. Now wearing a British uniform, Arnold set out to prove his new loyalty by attacking his former countrymen. In one of the most vicious acts of the war, he led a raid that burned down towns in Connecticut and oversaw the massacre of surrendered American soldiers, literally just a few miles from where he himself had grown up. It's just chilling. After the war ended, Arnold lived the rest of his life as an exile in England, despised in America, and never fully trusted by the British. His story leaves history with this incredible puzzle. What do you do with the two Benedict Arnolds, the hero and the traitor?
You know, his own words really capture the tragedy of it all. He's a man without a country. He got some money, sure, but he lost everything that truly mattered. His home, his honor, his place in the world he helped create. He was completely and utterly alone. And maybe nothing sums up his complicated legacy better than this. This is the Boot Monument at the Saratoga battlefield. It honors the heroic wound he received there. It's literally a monument to his leg. It calls him the most brilliant soldier, but it deliberately leaves his name off. It's like America itself is saying, we'll remember the heroism, but we're erasing you.
Which really leaves us with this final, tough question. Benedict Arnold was both an amazing hero and an unforgivable traitor. The two are forever tangled together. And it makes you wonder, can a hero's greatest acts ever really be separated from a traitor's worst crime?